Welcome to Keda's Room. Today we are reviewing the article called Being a Good Submissive 101. I'd like to say hi to the sirs. Hi Sir Frankie, Sir Neroli, Sir Mars. When I first got this article, I was asked to read it by myself. I never really read it because at the beginning it literally sounded like something I already knew. Like, I already knew that anyone could be a submissive. Like, that's just a given. I already knew this. But I kind of judged the book before I even began reading it. So the sirs took me last night and sat me down and said for me to read it out loud. When I fully read this and really took it in, I could actually relate to a lot of things in this. There's parts in the second article, parts in the second part of the paragraph in the article that I could relate to, that hit me hard, like to hide or suppress, or to be normal. With reading these words, I was thinking about my past and how I tried to be normal. I tried to fit in. I never really gave in to my needs or my wants. I tried to hide them. Anyhow, as I kept reading, more came up as I never really thought that my desires, my needs, or my wants were like this huge blanking sign. Can you see me sitting on the side of the road with this like huge blanking sign over my head and I didn't really notice it? But still to this day, I'm still having issues fighting what I think is normal. It's not easy to face, but it does take one day at a time. Still learning. As I kept reading, more words came up as like abuser or disguised as love. All these things came up, and I kept on thinking of my exes or my past, of people that I've dated that were wrong for me. Like, honestly, was I really seeking out abusers, not knowing what I was doing? That I accepted them, what they did to me, or I really allowed this to happen to me because I wanted to hide who I truly am? I did push family members away because they tried to help me, save me from a wrong relationship. That I chose to accept this relationship that I thought was love. Well, it was disguised as love. There's a few more words, like the passive-aggressive, constantly reassuring. All these affected me because I can relate to them. That I have fallen into the passive-aggressive trap that leads down a very dark path, where you beat yourself up for something that could have been very small, but you worked it into something bigger than what it was. That I have looked for constant reassurance in the dominance around me because I am insecure. And I've learned that it's something I don't need all the time. I do not need constant reassuring like I used to. 4 months ago, I used to need lots of reassuring. As I kept reading from this article, I never really thought beforehand that any of it had anything to do with me. That if I look back on my past and really look at it from a new point of perspective, that because of me trying to be normal, try to hide my wants, my needs, I allowed men to come into my life to harm me. But at the same time, it's a place that I thought was safe. But it wasn't safe because I did more self-harm than the people around me. So, I have learned not to be afraid. I have learned that if you fall, it's okay. That it's going to get, you can, I have learned that from this read of this this article, then not to be afraid of your wants, your desires, your needs. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be scared to talk with your dominant, because an article does talk about communication. And I know there is other articles out there that actually go deeper in the whole communication with your dominant, which I do suggest looking into because it does help if you're looking for answers. And then talking with your dominant is uplifting, even with just having the protection collar. Just talking with the dominants that I'm under their protection helps more than I thought. I also learned that there probably is more people out there like myself that think that it's safe to hide, that it's safe to think that what we have done to ourselves is normal. I also learned that once you actually let go of these aspects of thinking what is normal and talking with your dominant and everything along these lines, will help you get further into being a good submissive to yourself and basically giving it to a dom that you have chosen. As it is also mentioned in this article, that you have chose this dom for whatever reason. It could be their scent, their smell, a voice. And especially in SL, that voice is basically a major part in it. With the read, it starts talking about a subheart. The subheart is something that I have a goal to want to become. I want to have true submission to a dominant that I have chosen, that is right for me. To be in that state where I can just hand over would be great. I know other people would like that. That this read was an amazing article. It talks about also sassy submissives. I've never really met a sassy submissive, so I don't really have much to say about sassy submissives. But I do suggest this read to anyone that is starting on a path like myself to learn how to be a good submissive. That if you yourself are fighting, like I have been for a long time, of your desires, your wants, or your needs, and when you find that dominant and you start opening up, and that things will be great. Don't forget communication. Go very slow at it, because if you rush, as I've been told, Rome is never built in a day. It does take time. You may fail. You know that if you have failed, don't run. I have run from good relationships because I have failed thinking I wasn't good enough. But don't. Just because you fail doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, that the dominant doesn't love you that the dominant will not be there for you, because they will. She or he will be there for you. I have learned many things with the group that I have been around. And the women that I've been around, they have shown me so many things. And I have had the pleasure of being still here and to learn and to grow. And that is still a goal of mine, to keep growing. That if I make a mistake, I am going to keep going. I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to run. And I really hope that if anyone else sees this, that you will keep trying. Bye from Keda.